say one thing about Christ real quick.
Sure.
In the year 1, it was the age of Pisces, because the ages go back, every 2,000 years or something. So he was born, people believe he was born -6, February 28th. Now, if you put that in a chart, that has the most Pisces of anything I've ever seen. So in a sense, astrology has made me believe in Christianity more than Christianity itself, because he was a fulfillment of this Pisces archetype.
Interesting.
I just want to say that.
It's very. How much do you throw out Christianity, or how much do you throw out the people who interpret Christianity? Where do you draw the line on that? Should we draw the line? Are some Christians really much better interpreters of the religion itself than others? And I want to get your thoughts, Ben.
That's a great question. I mean, Nietzsche said in Zarathustra, we have to deny in order to affirm. So I believe there is a line. We have to say, no, you're completely off base, but I know your intent is right, but how you're, I'm not into preaching because, I preach astrology, but it's only in a personal way. But Christians seem to not read any other books, and I'm saying if you're a good Christian, you'll read as much as you can.
Yeah.
You'll need to read as much criticism against Christianity as you can. So I don't want to throw it out. I just want it to be known as something a little lesser than reality.
Yeah, okay. Right. We just finished up talking about Christianity and the acknowledgement of at least saying there are people that interpret the vehicle of Christianity. So they're putting in their own little spin, their own prejudices, their own biology, chemistry, every little idiosyncrasy that makes them them, and interpreting that. And there seems to be this just different wavelength, and not all these views seem to interpret it in morally equal ways, right? And I guess that's the big question, is when morals and ethics get involved, and there seems to be views that might be, can we call it, more ethical than others? Well, and this is a big thing for religion. When do we cross ethical boundaries, and when is it okay to be religious, not religious, spiritual, concerning ethics? I mean, your position, Ben, how do you deal with ethics? It's a huge topic. We talked about it with Jasper, a little bit with, and Mendham's always talking about it. We haven't talked about it with him yet, but how much of ethics do you contemplate about and think about in a spiritual worldview?
Ethics for me is asking someone their sign and adapting to it. No, I'm just joking. I've been reading Nietzsche well before I studied astrology, so I had already these psychological insights, and astrology just helped me, let's say, categorize it more, I found a number of similarities, for instance, between Oscar Wilde and Friedrich Nietzsche. Not only were they both born 10 years and 1 day apart, but they both died in 1900. And I only found that out when I made a list of very, very similar quotes. So, but going back to ethics, I would say that, just be nice to people. Ethics is really very personal. It's not something that we can write in stone, because what's good for me is calamitous for a weak person. I like feeling weird and controversial when I'm in my thoughts. I don't want to be in a comfort zone. Yeah. And yet, half these people are just looking for an escape, and I'm looking to embrace reality. I think ethics, Emerson said wisdom is really nothing but courage. Interesting. Too many people are scared, lazy.
Too many people are scared to be ethical, or really just trust themselves in terms of ethics? Or
it's harder to be the good person. So if Nietzsche said the two most universal human characteristics are fear and laziness. So that applies to all things.
Right.
I've been nice usually. I think astrology, I'm like, oh, you're a Taurus, and then they think I'm unethical. But then I name out my directors, and they're like, oh, I'm supposed to be a director?
Yeah. I wanted to know one more thing on astrology. I don't know if Matt wants to go again, but how much, when you look about, when you at least get into basic level psychology, and we're talking psychology 1A or something in college, they hint at, or they point out the sign of a projected prejudice, or some bias that if you're told about someone already, Matt's X, Y, and Z, and then you meet Matt, you're already going to be looking for X, Y, and Z the whole time. So how much of that, if we ascribe it to astrology, do you say you trust in terms of what psychology has revealed? If this, like Lee, if your sign says on this, this, and this, how much of you is already going to be looking for that and be like, oh, I'm totally that. Well, it obviously works. How much of that do we trust in psychology, that psychology has revealed, and how much of it can we say, okay, well, settle down, here's some more evidence, kind of thing?
Very good question. Since I do believe in reincarnation, I have to take into account the idea that people might have been a Leo in their past life and a Virgo in this life. I mean, I'm dead hardcore about that kind of stuff. Like, I don't want to see everyone as just one sign. And then a great argument against astrology is twins. They're so alike, yet so the same.
Oh, yeah.
But I would say that, I mean, if someone tells me they're a sign, I wouldn't, like, you know, act in a different manner, but I will bring up different topics. Like, I wouldn't talk, I don't know, I'd have to see their whole chart before I judge them by a sign. So astrology and ethics is very interesting. And since post-2012, I think the alignments will be much more sensitive to alignments post-2012 that we're going to have to take into consideration our placements, I believe.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I would almost say that there could be a cross-fertilization between the person as you interact with them in your, you know, actual embodied existence with them and their birth chart, and so that you learn more about the birth chart and their alignments by, you know, engaging with them on a personal level. And
I've guessed at least 20 people's signs correctly.
Yeah, right. So it's not necessarily that you look at the chart first and then judge the person based solely on that. It could actually go in the reverse direction, that you interact with the person and then derive their chart from that.
Yeah, yeah. Has it been that way for you, Ben? Have you ever met someone first and then found out later what they were, and then they kind of matched up, no problem, or
Oh God, yes. I've even guessed someone's Mars in Cancer before. I was like, why are you a Sagittarius dating all these Cancers? Maybe your Mars is in Cancer, so it was. I mean, it's very personal, and if you don't have a sort of intuitive eye for reading people's character, which they say Aquarius rabbits specifically have, then I don't think astrology should be for you. Or I don't think everyone should study it, because then they're gonna be a little too biased. And I always want to remain free, like a free spirit, which is kind of what upsets me about Nietzsche, perhaps criticizing astrology, because he doesn't know his placements. I know he didn't have a birth chart reading, so how could he really know his archetypes? And I just want to say about Nietzsche, he has Neptune, his planet of illusions and spirituality, in Aquarius. So, but he is a Libra himself, his sun. So I think he is sort of a messenger for this age of Aquarius.
We should probably wrap it up. I really appreciate you hanging out with us and sharing your thoughts with us.
Yep.
Some really insightful stuff you got there.
Good questions, John. That was awesome.
Yeah. Good answer.
John, I was looking at your channel earlier. I didn't realize you were that silly. That's awesome. Some funny stuff.
Nobody spiritual was representing that wavelength. I had to feel a need, I think, a niche.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I feel a niche for the Nietzsche. So.
There you go. All right, Ben. We'll talk to you soon, man.
All right, later, man. John, that was awesome.
Take it easy.
Adios, Ben.
Peace.
Adios, network. Rational sign.
That was pretty good.
Yeah. Double edited.